I'm Janae Sutton, the Director of Health and Family Services for Hardin County Schools. We are so excited at all the wonderful things that are happening within our schools as this new school year begins. And so thankful to our Family Resource Youth Service Centers who have hosted some amazing open houses that bring parents in so that they can see what all is happening in our schools instructionally with their children as well as socially and emotionally. Recently, our Family Resource Youth Service Center coordinators were invited to attend an amazing parent engagement seminar hosted by our Director of Federal Programs, Ms. Debbie Wyatt. The focus of this was to bring more ideas and issues to the surface so that we could bring in more parents to our schools so that we could help them to understand better ways to help their children, ways to get involved, and just overall become even stronger partners with our staff and employees so that children can be successful throughout the school year and throughout their lives.
So I'm Brandon Quick. I'm with Teacher Created Materials. Teacher Created Materials is a great company. I had a chance to join about 14 months ago as a sales representative. We specialize in supplemental and intervention resources, professional learning and professional development located out of Huntington Beach, California. So we're fortunate to work mostly with the K through 8 market. We've also been fortunate to partner with a lot of districts here in Kentucky.
So my name is Jennifer Jump, and I'm an academic officer with Teacher Created Materials. Today, we engaged with principals and family resource specialists, really talking about how to engage parents and how to break down some of the barriers that prevent parents from feeling engaged and feeling like they're part of the school community. So I think it's important that we start off by recognizing where we're at and what we already know we have and what we know blocks us from being more successful. And as I walked around the room listening, the one thing I heard over and over again is it's hard to get parents in the door, right? And especially this afternoon when I'm thinking about who are we talking about? We're talking about middle school parents and high school parents who are like, if you think about the gradual release of control, they're ready to release. You know? The reason I was able to join Teacher Created Materials is because I believed in the company. And Brandon told you a little bit about the company, but I'll tell you the reason I felt confident in leaving the school sector, because that was scary, because I'm an educator. But I was able to do that because I believed in this vision that is to create a world in which children love to learn. And when I think about how can we really flip things for kids, we have to convince them that school is a great place to be. And they can't feel that way very easily if their parents don't think school is a good place to be. I always say straightforward, if parents are sitting at home talking nasty about the school, what is the kid supposed to do with that information? But to own it, right? I mean, my children both believe that the Chicago Bears are the only football team that should ever exist on the planet. And they don't know anything about football. But that's all they have heard, that's all they know. So what parents do at home impacts the way kids respond at school. So our goals are going to explore communication engagement strategies for families and communities. We're going to discover and talk about the importance of a welcoming environment. In fact, we're going to spend the bulk of our time considering what we can do better as schools to make parents feel welcome. And then we're going to identify ways to support families through instruction. So how can we get them engaged in their students' instruction, their kids' instruction? The good news is that although Brandon spoke very highly of me, because I paid him and all, the real answer is that you are the experts in this room. You know your students, you know your schools, you know your faculties, you know your staff. So the answers are really here, and I believe that collectively we have the knowledge and experience to be able to better engage families. And so our hope today is to gather some ideas from our colleagues from different places and be able to walk away from here with some new, fresh ideas or some tired, old, recycled ideas that perhaps we have forgotten about. Sound fair? All right. So I want you to read this quote, please. Communication has to be there for those things to happen, for parents to trust us and for parents to be engaged. Now, the reason I chose to highlight in red math learning, anybody want to know why I put that in red? Yes. It could be anything. Now, I don't feel confident that the authors of this particular piece of text would want me going around and fiddling with their quote. So instead, what I did is just made sure we could realize, hey, this isn't about just math learning. This could be about literacy learning or science learning or art learning, learning, period, right? And so now I'm going to ask you to read this list of all of the things that says this. Students with involved families, regardless of income or background, are more likely to read that list. Now that you've read that list, or you're still reading it, that's fine. I want you to pick the one. Pick the one that you're like, that's the one. That's the one that means the most to me in my school. And on the count of 3, in your teacher voice, so not your I am in trouble, I'm going to whisper to you, Jen Jump, because this is annoying voice, but your teacher voice, will you tell me which one you chose? Out loud, in your teacher voice. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so I heard some that were repeated, but I also heard that they weren't all exactly the same. Because in our schools, we have even different reasons that we feel like this is such important work. Our students even have different needs. I heard improved behavior and attitude. I heard attend. So there are different things that our goal is for getting parents engaged, but ultimately, if parents are engaged, these things get better. Joyce Epstein, has anyone heard of her? So Joyce is out of Johns Hopkins, and Joyce has done a ton of work at Johns Hopkins in regards to parent engagement, and she says basically there are 6 ways to engage parents. Here they are. To engage them by supporting their parenting, help them with communication, ensure that they know how to encourage learning at home. And she also says there are these additional 3, help and get parents involved in the school through volunteering. Decision making, include parents in decision making at the school. And finally, to identify ways to collaborate within the community. Now, I would say this, if we could just get all these 6 things figured out, we'd have it made. But are these things easy to do? No. If they were easy to do, we wouldn't be sitting here today. Like, we wouldn't be having this conversation. And if we wouldn't have things like percentages in the 30s to 50s about parent engagement in school promo events. So then I say, all right, if that's the case, if those are the ways, here are the most common ways to get parents involved. Through newsletters, websites, back-to-school nights, parent-teacher conferences, through homework, snooze fest, family surveys, home visits, and like math nights, STEAM nights. Now, in middle school and high school, there are some other things that get parents involved that are like ancillary. They're part of school, but they're like a subset. And that is through sporting events and music events. Now, that can happen in the elementary school too. I'm not saying it can't, but that is a different way. And I heard it already. The key there is to capitalize on that, right?
There's no shortage of research and evidence on the impact of parent involvement. And certainly if you've ever been in a school as a teacher or administrator, you know the value of having that two-way communication and having parents have a good understanding of what's happening in schools and really partnering with schools and understanding the daily ins and outs.
So we're going to focus on just these 3 things. I already shared those with you at the very beginning when I talked about the goals, but we're going to think about welcoming environment, and learning at home. And welcoming environment means this: we're going to make sure parents feel welcome. Make sure parents and family members feel like they can come into the school at any given time. The benefits are these things. It's positive, student and family-centered environment. Parents know this school is not about you educators, but it is about the students. Parents become partners if they feel welcome. If a parent doesn't feel welcome, what are they going to do? They're not coming. If they don't feel like they belong, they will not cross the threshold, right? I don't go places I don't feel welcome, do you? Well, that's not true. Sometimes I go anyway because I have no shame. But parents won't. Parents and community will become members of the school community. They will advocate for things. Think about your most engaged parents. If something is needed, they get it done. They make the phone calls. I heard a story earlier this morning about a parent who the parking lot needed to be fixed. Principal was very aware of this issue. Who got it done? A parent, a squeaky wheel. Then they have trusting relationships, and those trusting relationships make for improved student outcomes. All right, so how are we going to do that? We're going to make sure our school is physically welcoming. What does that mean? If you have a physically welcoming school, what does that mean to you?
Appearance of the school.
Yes, first and foremost, the appearance of the school has to be what kinds of things? Inviting, clean. Also, parents need to know what on earth they need to do when they arrive at your school. Is the way that we ask parents to get into school strange or cumbersome? Does it make sense? Is the staff welcoming? Now, I do not want you to think about the staff at your school. Think about staff at schools other places, okay? Have you ever walked into a school and met somebody who wasn't super friendly? If you say no, you're fibbing. It's happened to all of us. You walk into a school, you're hoping to be met with some sort of enthusiasm for you visiting, and instead you're met with like annoyance. So are the people who are welcoming our parents, are they really welcoming? What does the communication look like, and what are school-wide practices? And so what we're going to spend some time on together thinking through is what makes parents feel unwelcome. What makes that welcome mat that should be out for parents at all times, it says welcome, what makes them feel like it says unwelcome? What does a parent see, hear, experience, feel, encounter that makes them feel like they aren't welcome? What makes parents feel like they don't belong?
Having to wait a long time.
Yes. You come into a school, expect to be helped right away, and you're like, here, have a seat. And it might not even be a welcome. It may be, have a seat. I'll be with you. That's a great example. Any others?
We'll say tone of how they're greeted, or if not.
The tone. And let's be clear about tone. Culturally, tone differs. Do you know what else makes a difference? Body language. Realizing that some cultures, if you are not greeted by standing, it's disrespectful. If you are not called ma'am or sir or Mrs. or Mr., it's disrespectful. So just thinking about those things. So now, I want to share with you some things that parents don't understand. The attendance policy. The attendance policy doesn't make sense to me. There are things I don't understand. There are ways I don't know how to navigate it. I think it's crazy. I think it's weird. All kinds of things I heard about attendance policies. Security. Technology. So when parents are told, check the website, and they're like, what website? And how do I get to the website because I don't have a computer at my house? Curriculum. So just shout out one example of a curriculum that is used in your school. One example, just shout it out, I don't care. Alex Math? I don't even know what that is. So it's a great example. So here's what might happen. A teacher might say to a parent, in Alex Math, blah, 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 blah. What does that mean to a parent? Alex, I don't even have a kid named Alex. Like, you're not talking to me because you're talking about Alex, and I don't know Alex. Alex Schmalix, right? And it's that way of any curriculum. Like, it means nothing. When we say things like, oh, we had a seminar in class the other day. You had a what? Edu-jargon, what is that? What do I mean by edu-jargon? What encompasses edu-jargon? Acronyms. Well, hold on, because you just said coyote testing.
I did. I have no idea what it is. I just know we do it all the time.
Hold on. They test their children to make sure they're not coyotes?
K-Y-O-T-E. K-Y-O-T-E.
I'm stuck. This is what, but think how now if I bring my daughter to your school, you say we're going to coyote test, I'm going to take her home. Like, back off, there will be no blood tests. My kid is not a coyote. Weirdos. Edu-jargon, but it scares parents all the time. It makes them feel unwelcome. It also, by the way, makes them feel stupid. Because we say it like it's no big thing. Formal register. What do we mean by formal register? So we speak at school unlike any other place that most parents experience other than maybe their workplace. We speak in a very formal, strict, like narrow way. It's formal. And I'm going to ask a question that's tricky. If you are speaking with a parent, is their child their business? Business meaning their job. See, that's tricky. So for me, my students, whether I be the principal or a teacher, my students are my business. That's my job. But my kids at home are not my business. They are my heart, my soul, my love, my being. So all of a sudden what happens is we take a teacher who's thinking of this as a business transaction. This is what I can tell you about your student. What can you tell me about your student? And a parent who is thinking, this is the human I found, gave birth to, adopted, whatever. This is a person that is my soul. And suddenly we have two very different approaches to this child trying to come together. One is very formal, one is very informal. And there's like this mismatch. You know, I'm a weird mom. I can acknowledge that because I care about all the things. I probably know more about my daughter's, or more about literacy than my daughter's sixth grade teacher does. I know that, she knows that. Poor her, I'm sorry, she's great. But here's the thing, I don't really care so much to hear everything there is to know about her data and stats and all of that stuff. Sometimes I really just want to know that she's a human at school. Like, I think she is the funniest 11-year-old on the planet. Is she funny at school? I want to know that. I want to know that she has human interactions. Does she have friends? Because we're not having a lot of kids to our whole house since we moved. Is she engaging with her peers at school? Is she as awkward and socially strange at school as she is at the mall? Because the kid is bizarre, right? Like, I want to know these things. And so it's just a different thing. Grade structure is another thing that is foreign and unwelcoming and confusing to parents. And the trickier part is, what happens when students change schools? And in some schools, and I don't want to speak to anyone in school in particular, but some schools, even from class to class, policies are different. Homework might be part of a grade in one class, but not in another class. And those clashes are very confusing to parents. So there are some really important things to do when considering how to get parents engaged. First and foremost, opening the school to becoming a welcoming environment, which means making sure it looks welcoming, that folks are welcoming to parents who enter the building, and then ensuring that anything that is a barrier to parents' access to school, that you work on figuring out how to solve that barrier and break that barrier down. So one of the most powerful ways we can find out how to engage parents is by asking them how they want to be engaged. And that isn't by saying a simple question like, how do you want to be engaged? Because that doesn't answer, that doesn't mean anything. But what do parents really want to know about school? So I know that schools host things like financial aid workshops, because that's important. FAFSA is tricky. It's exhausting, actually. And applying for colleges is hard work. But there are other things that parents are thinking about and wondering, and we want to find out what it is that they want to know and how can we support them. What can we offer to a parent that will get them in the door? That's what we want to find out. And how do we find that out? We have to ask. I think we make a lot of assumptions about what our parents think they need, what we think they need, and what we think they want. And do you know what we base that on? Ourselves. Now, I need you to think for a moment, and this is an uncomfortable question, but are all of the parents in your school just like you? Same value systems, same needs, wants, desires, same family structures, et cetera, et cetera. Are they? No, because no two family structures, no two economic situations are exactly the same, period. But we have to ask, because what we think may not be what they really need. And so then you have to think, like, what do we ask parents to find it out? And so I kind of thought of two examples, a great one and a not so great one. The not so great one is, what do you want to know, parent? Woo! I don't know that parents can answer that question, but if I ask parents, what are you really worried about? When you send your child to 9th grade, what are you worried about? Okay, so then how do we help parents with those things, right? That's a question we can ask a parent and find out, hey, if we could answer this, if 40, I don't know what I was about to say. If 80% of parents all worry about one thing, what is one way to get parents in the door?
Address that one thing.
Responding to that worry. If parents are worried about bullying, find a way to talk about bullying at school. And parents who are interested in that, are worried about that, are more likely to come. I'm not going to say that they will come, but they're more likely to come if what you're talking about, what you're doing, addresses their thoughts. Similarly, we can ask students questions that might give us information about what their parents need. So for example, we could ask students, what is something that you and your parents disagree about that we could help you with, that school could help with? And they could say, my parents and I disagree about homework and due dates, deadlines, due dates. Okay, interesting. So maybe that's something we could talk with parents about. And I want to make sure we talk a little bit about the learning environment. So we talked about the welcoming environment, how to make parents feel welcome. Well, getting them in the door is one thing. And I'm going to be clear. You have to break down the walls before you get parents in the building. And if parents feel any sort of unwelcome mat exists, they're not stepping in. It doesn't matter what kind of night you have, they're not coming. So I want you to think for a moment about your community. And by community, I really mean school community. And what do you hear in your school community? And where do you hear things in your school community? So at the elementary school, this is easy, because parents have to be more engaged at the elementary school. It's that gradual release. Nobody needs to drop off their 10th grader at school every single day and pick them up every single day. Not that it never happens, but it doesn't have to. When a child is 6, and there are things that parents have to do for their child that they don't have to do when their child is 16, right? So there's a reality in this. So if that's the case, where can you hear things that the people in your school are saying about your school?
The grocery store.
At the grocery store.
Social media.
Social media. Social media is an interesting and sometimes scary place, but there might be some things that happen on some social media about your school that somebody ought to be aware of. Maybe not you, but somebody, right? What about at the football game? Like in the sporting events, are families going to talk about school? Maybe. You got to be ready to hear and listen. And listen for the things that they feel like are going really, really well and the things that they feel like are going really, really poorly. Number 3 says, what is your main message for the school year? And so as a school, we want parents to know all kinds of things, right? But you've got to help yourselves find some things to hone in on. So what do you want for parents to know? If you tell them 37 things at the beginning of the school year, ask how many will they remember? None. If you told me 37 things right now, I would stop listening after number 4 because my brain is tired. But if you have 3 things and you hone in and focus in on those 3 things throughout a school year, guess what happens? Parents have heard them over and over and over again, and they start to hear them, see them, think them, believe them, own them. The second one is to craft your website message. It doesn't have to be a website message. It can be any place that you know families are going to go to find information about your school. Facebook is certainly one. Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, all of those things are a window, an opportunity to give your parents the information that they need. And let's be clear. Parents are far more likely to look at an Instagram story than to read a newsletter, right? If I'm honest with myself, I am more likely to look at an Instagram story than to read a newsletter. It's the way our world is currently working. So we have to find those places. And the third one is to discover and figure out what is your grocery store speech or grocery store message. What's that mean? You are an ambassador to your school. But not just you, everyone in your building is an ambassador to your school. So if you're out in the community and you run into somebody and they say, what's happening at North High, you need something to say. And everybody at your school should have something to say. This is a business tactic that when I was in Rockford, Illinois, we changed the way our community looked at our school by consistently having a message. Our schools were in trouble in Rockford. People didn't trust them, didn't trust us as educators, didn't trust central office, didn't trust their school. So we went through some hefty training in regards to this idea of what they called an elevator speech. I like grocery store message. Because what we could do then is anytime we were out in the community, whether it be at a church, at the grocery store, and someone said, hey, what's happening in Rockford right now? Instead of hemming and hawing, we had an answer. Like, hey, I'm so excited to share this with you. Hey, did you know that we have this happening coming up soon? So something that everyone in your school, because parents, even if they're not in your school, they know who is in your school. Sometimes we get this misunderstanding that because parents don't come to school, that it means that they don't care about their kid or their kid's education. That is largely untrue.
I am the Kentucky and Indiana sales representative for teacher-created materials. Would definitely love to talk to anybody who's interested in family engagement or a variety of other professional development topics. You know, we partner with experts like Jen and have very talented academic officers who are prepared to deliver professional development on really any range of educational topics, literacy, math, content specific, you name it. So my number is 502-296-2908, and certainly reaching out to me directly is a great option, and would love to talk to you.